2020, the year that has really changed the world.
Everything is changing.
The very idea of human being some sort of natural concept is really going to change.
The real revolution and our life, the pattern of governing societies will be so much affected.
We've been able to maintain attention and political will, Margaret, you tell me if I'm wrong, compared to 2011 for a longer period of time. But I have to tell you, I'm still worried that we'll go back to the same pattern, which is panic, complete panic. Why haven't we done more? To neglect, panic to neglect.
Jim, you are absolutely spot on. Countries of the world, leaders of the world are very good when they see, stories on the TV set, and then they get panic. They put in funds. When we control the disease, they say that things are okay. When things are getting well, people walk away. We should not allow that to happen again.
And the other thing, besides the fast-moving epidemic, is the intentional epidemic, the bioterrorism, and that would not be anything like an Ebola. It would be it'd be in the flu type category.
The COVID-19 crisis has shown us that our old systems are not fit anymore for the 21st century. In short, we need a great reset.
The great opportunity for reset.
The Great Reset.
Look at things like gene editing.
And you see, the difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you. If you take a genetic editing, right. Just as an example, it's you who are changed.
It turns out that we can use human engineering to help us address climate change. People eat too much meat, right? And if they were to cut down on their consumption on meat, then it would actually really help the planet. But people are not willing to give up meat. Possibly we can use human engineering to make it the case that we're intolerant to certain kinds of meat, to certain kinds of bovine protein. So it turns out that the larger you are, think of the lifetime sort of greenhouse gas emissions that are required to the energy that's required to transport larger people rather than smaller people, right? But if we're smaller, just by 15 centimeters, right? That's a mass, I did the math, and it's about mass reduction of 25%, which is huge, right? So think of just the, lifetime greenhouse gas emissions if we had smaller children. Right, and so that's something that we could do through some sort of human.
Could we, setting aside, should we? Is that crazy? I'm going to ask Drew.
Well, how small should we go?
We shouldn't be so small that we get eaten by cats, right?
When you began to do that kind of gene editing, some people worried that you were changing what it means to be human.
That's the problem.
We're going to start the When Humans Become Cyborg session. I always want to be a cyborg.
Inside our own heads is the most complex arrangement of matter in the known universe.
You might ask yourself, can we get to be superhumans?
I just would like to highlight what you said about the European CHIPS Act because it's an important step to create the physical brain for digitalization and to have it located to a certain extent in Europe.
Governments, as it is said in business, become also agile. And we even have to go into the direction what I would call agile norm setting, agile legislation.
We have to change our economy dramatically.
The recovery has to be greener than any of the previous recoveries.
Policies, in some cases carbon taxes will be used to drive the demand for these clean products.
So we cannot waste this opportunity to ensure that the very precious money that's raised from the next generation is spent on green and low carbon.
We are seeing a recovery that has been stronger than anything we had expected. But in the advanced economies, it has just been staggering.
You give access to what is happening inside your body and brain in exchange for far better healthcare. And my guess is that health will win.
Surveillance, we need to do a lot more.
Please submit any questions you may have for the panelists via the Slido QR code on the screen.
There's a new approach that is sometimes called DNA, RNA vaccines, that the part you would change to go after a new disease would be a very small part of it. And so a lot of the work, the safety work, the manufacturing work, you could cut that out.
Which has this extraordinary capability of mutating, developing new variants, and the new variants can be eluding the immune response.
Experts and governments have tried really hard for now 2 years to get people to believe in the vaccines. And but as Tony said, what is sad is all the misinformation that we are seeing every day.
FDA approved the first electronic pill, if I can call it like that. So it is basically biological chip that it is in the tablet, and once you take the tablet and dissolves into your stomach, sends a signal that you took the tablet. So imagine the applications of that, compliance.
It's going to allow us to not just edit genomes, but also, and importantly, write a new code for life. We'll have write-level permissions. We already started to see some of that this year. COVID-19 vaccines, they make use of engineered code in the form of messenger RNA.
In 2010, Dr. Ottmar Edenhofer, then co-chair of the IPCC working group, said, "We, the UN IPCC, redistribute the facto the world's wealth by climate policy. One has to free oneself from the illusion that international climate policy is environmental policy. This has nothing to do with environmental policy anymore."
Carbon must be given a price. The time of fossil fuel subsidies is over. We must phase out coal. Authorities must integrate the goal of carbon neutrality in all economic and fiscal policies and decisions.
We must not miss this unique window of opportunity. We can change our behavior to be in harmony with nature again.
We can access people's thoughts and access people's emotions.
Adapt to these technological challenges and changes which are redefining what it means to be human.
You'll own nothing and you'll be happy is just one of their marketing slogans. The plan involves replacing shareholders of big companies with stakeholders who happen to be left-wing bureaucrats and climate change zealots. Replacing mum and dad small businesses and private enterprises with big tech and big business. Democracy and free enterprise go out the window. Totalitarian government control slides in through the back door. But remember, it's not only a great reset, it's a great deception. Because in order to get everyday people like you and me, Jackie, to surrender many of the rights and freedoms we currently take for granted, the repeatedly stated aim of these organizations is to deliberately use COVID as an excuse to use all the political and